The 2019 Lexus RC350 is an exceptional luxury sports coupe that comes close to perfection. But now nearing a 5-year shelf life, the question is the RC350 finally outdated? Stick around and let's find out. 5 years, that's half a decade. Just think about how much car design and technology has matured since 2014. And without a doubt, the wrinkles are finally starting to show. But before we get into the details, let's go over some of the specs.
Today we're reviewing the Lexus RC, and the model under test is RC350 all-wheel drive. The engine is a 3.5-liter V6 producing 311 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Transmission is a 6-speed automatic. Estimated fuel EPA is rated at 13.1 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway. There's only one available package trim for the RC350 all-wheel drive, and the price comes in at 62,000 Canadian dollars. The Lexus RC is also available in a lower RC300 model. It's got the exact same engine and transmission, but power is reduced significantly. 260 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. But still, fuel EPA remains the same. The base price is $48,950. Two packages are available. The premium package costs $52,000. This includes blind spot monitoring and cross-traffic alert, power moonroof, 19-inch alloy wheels, and ventilated front seats. Now, the more expensive F Sport series costs $56,600. This includes everything in the premium package and more. This includes an Inform Media and navigation system, a 10-speaker Mark Levinson premium audio, larger 10.3-inch display screen, active noise control, LFA-style instrument cluster, adaptive variable suspensions, and F Sport trim, as well as air-conditioned front seats. We're going to go over a few of these features later in a bit.
The RC350 is essentially the 2-door coupe version of the 4-door IS350 sedan. It's got the exact same powertrain, but the wheelbase is about 7 centimeters shorter. Surprisingly though, the RC350 actually weighs about 250 pounds more, but nevertheless, the coupe just looks better because it's more compressed, kind of like the elasticity of a baby's face. Now on the side, you've also got this ultra-wide side window that really improves visibility, especially when you're inside driving. And the windows themselves are frameless. Now that being said, this design is actually just more for aesthetics. As a matter of fact, you actually lose subframe rigidity, but still, the RC350 still feels rock solid. Now the rear trunk lid is where its age starts to show. I personally would have preferred a fastback design where both the rear windshield and the trunk opens up in one piece, similar to that of a hatchback in the BMW 4 Series. This also improves versatility and increased rear cargo space that's so limited with this coupe. Unfortunately, there's also no power liftgate option to electrically close the gate in itself. And the material feels like a tin can. Now there's essentially no room in the back seats as well. Look at my head, it's already touching the roof line and I'm only 5'6", but that's really the case for any sports coupe design really. Alright, now moving on to the next best part about the RC350. Starting off with these 8-way power adjustable perforated leather bucket seats. Yes, I know other manufacturers have now moved on to 10 or even 12-way adjustable, but still, more adjustability does not mean more comfort, and the RC350 is definitely the case here. Now the perforated leather section material also provides plenty of comfort and support while leaving room for stiff lateral support on the side when you're cornering. Alright, so now on with the interior. First thing first, the steering wheel is perforated leather wrapped, which feels really nice to the touch. There's also got some paddle shifters here in the back, as well as your push start stop engine button here. And the material in itself is actually some kind of a metallic, highly polished material, which looks really nice. Up here you have your 10.3-inch infotainment screen. It's non-touchscreen, by the way. And down here you have your dual heated vents as well as an analog clock. And down here you have your center console for your dual climate controls as well as your media controls. And the material in itself is actually brushed aluminum, which looks really nice, especially when in the dark. The whole background is actually kind of absorbs all the light, which really makes the interior look pitch black, but still illuminated with kind of a moonlit black color. And you have, again, your media console controls as well as your emergency button here. And down here you have a Mark Levinson audio system. So the system is actually 17-speaker Mark Levinson system. And if you didn't know, Mark Levinson is a high-end audio manufacturer in the States. And with the RC350 all-wheel drive, you also have heated and ventilated front seats for both the passenger and driver. And you have a standard gear shifter. And you also have a drive mode selector. So essentially you can turn the knob left once to go into eco mode, or turn it right to go into sport mode, or turn it one more time to go into sport plus mode. Or if you want to go back into normal drive mode, you simply just press the button. Now the drive mode is also indicated on the instrument cluster. So for example, instrument cluster, sorry. So if I actually go into sport mode, it'll actually change colors or change graphics accordingly. Into sport plus and back to normal. Now the whole infotainment system is actually controlled by this haptic capacitive touchpad here. It's kind of interesting in a way, in a sense that as I move to different buttons or menus here, the touchpad will actually vibrate. So it'll kind of give you some kind of a haptic feedback experience. Now, this is where things become a little bit outdated with the Lexus RC350, in a sense that, in my opinion, I think there's just too many menus and it's just really hard to navigate sometimes, especially with the touchpad, but still it works for the most part. And you also have 3 buttons for your shortcuts, one for maps and one to go back to the main menu or to go back to the previous menu. And down here you have 2 cup holders as well as a glove box compartment down here below. Again, I can't stress enough how beautiful the craftsmanship really is in the interior. I mean, take for example these vinyl wrapping here. It kind of has almost a soft touch, but still really dense to kind of absorb a lot of the noise, as well as this beautiful brushed black aluminum finish that I really like. And also the leather wrapping around the center console is actually padded, so it kind of feels comfortable, not only to the touch, but also visually as well. Another thing I wanted to mention about the interior is how wide this A-pillar extends into the subframe. This gives you quite a bit of visual gap between the side mirror and the A-pillar in itself, which really improves visibility, especially when you're cornering. So one of the things that makes the RC350 outdated is the rear view camera in itself. So if I shift into reverse, you can tell that the camera feed is really warped and distorted. That's because there's no image correction built into the software. You can also tell that the video feed has a low resolution because it's not spanning the entire real estate of the 10.3-inch infotainment screen. Alright, let's take this thing out for a night drive to see how she drives. Now the transmission is where things become a little bit outdated. It's a 6-speed automatic, while other manufacturers have moved on to 8 or even 10-speed automatic, and also with dual clutch transmission as well. But still, that doesn't compromise acceleration with the RC350 though. All that means is it'll just take a little bit longer to reach the peak horsepower point. And because the cabin space is so quiet, that also makes a 12-speaker Mark Levinson audio system sound so good. Now the caveat to such a quiet cabin space is that the insulation actually blocks out some of the engine noise as well, which is something you actually want to hear. Now to address that, Lexus actually came up with what's called active sound control system. Essentially, there are speakers hidden behind this dashboard that actually reproduces the engine tone. Yes, some people will actually say it's gimmickry, but in my opinion, I think it's a fair compromise. I mean, you can't have everything. I mean, performance cars, yes, you can hear the engine tone in the vehicle really good, very clearly, but you also hear for example, the tires biting, or the windshield entering into the cabin space, or the gears whining. I mean, it's just such an exhausting experience, and to be honest, when driving such high performance sports vehicles in that nature, it does become pretty exhausting, and cars like that, I can probably only drive it for about an hour. But in the case of the Lexus RC350, I can actually drive this car for hours without feeling stressed. It's just such an amazing car, which I absolutely love. I just wish you guys could experience it the same way as I do. Yes, the RC350 does feel a little bit heavy. As a matter of fact, it is 250 pounds heavier than the 4-door IS350 sedan variant. But still, the added material does really help strengthen the overall chassis, making it more rigid, and as well as the weight really does help absorb all the bumps on the road. And you can really tell just how stable the car drives. And the piece I love most about the RC350 is the instrument cluster. It kind of gives you a sense of an infinite black while gently illuminating the LCD screen with kind of a gray moonlit LED. And these seats, they're just so comfortable. I would pay $1,000 just so I can buy these seats and sit at home all day long. And the visibility is so good with the RC350, especially with the massive side mirrors and this deep concave A-pillars that really has a big gap between the side mirrors and the A-pillars here as well. And the handling is the best part. Feels like you just easily grab onto the road, especially when you're cornering hard. There's just no hesitation. It's just so confident around corners. And as a matter of fact, I bombed down Sea to Sky Highway from Whistler last year, and it just handles corners so well, and it's just so stable under high speeds. You almost can't do anything to upset it. While the ride is just so smooth with the active dampening suspensions. Alright, so just to conclude this video, there are certainly elements that make the RC350 feel dated, like the 6-speed automatic, the dated rearview camera, and parts of the chassis design. Still though, I think the Lexus experience is timeless, and I personally wouldn't trade it for anything else. Well, that's my take on the 2019 Lexus RC350. Let me know what you guys think on the comments below, and for now, until next time.